In Christianity, there are consensus issues. In Islam, there are consensus issues. When we look up the issues where there are disagreements in Islam, things like fight those who do not believe in Allah.
Sure, and Christianity. You think all those crusades and all those battles for the cross weren't under the Bible?
They're not getting that from there.
They didn't use the Bible to justify crusade? You're as ignorant of history as you are of Islam.
What are they using?
Excellent. Do this. When you go home, look up the Pope's writings using the Bible to justify.
Give me a verse that you can use.
Luke 19:27. But bring here those enemies of mine who did not want me to reign over them and slay them before me. Can this verse not be used to slaughter people? Go ahead.
That's a perfect example.
Excellent. It is.
Go to Luke 19:27. You start reading at verse 12.
Okay.
Jesus is telling a story.
What's the point of the story? To give you a lesson.
As far as the Bible being violent, I don't see any problem with that. I mean, what point are you trying to make? What's necessarily wrong with violence? Sometimes you need violence. Okay? It depends on your opinion. Ultimately, God's opinion, God's authority on, for example, who should be killed. Maybe the Egyptians should be killed. Maybe in the time of Moses. Maybe the Amalekites and other tribes should be killed by Joshua, who was the successor of Moses, okay, to lead the Jews. What's necessarily wrong with that? What's wrong with flooding the world? What's wrong with God flooding the world if he feels that people deserve it and that the creation and the world deserves it? I don't have any problem with that. So we had this white guy that was up on the mic complaining about violence and crusades and this and that. Look, pull out your violin or ask someone to pull out a violin and start playing it for you to help you, and you can cry on their shoulder and everything like that, okay? I have absolutely no problem, and I have no problem with any Christian saying, hey, we're going to go on a crusade. I have no problem with that. Jesus said that he came with a sword. That's what Jesus said, okay? Jesus said to bring his enemies before him and slay them. I have no problem with that. Okay? Christians, they're not using their ability to use their religion to defend themselves. Okay? And to attack evildoers. Okay? I have no problem, action, with spreading Christianity with the sword. If I was in charge of Christianity, all the Muslims, for example, that live in the United States collecting welfare checks and food stamps, I would say, look, you want your welfare check? You're going to have to come to church. You're going to have to baptize your children. You're going to have to become a Christian. Okay? If I was in charge, I would take the U.S. military to the Middle East, and I would turn everybody into a Christian or else, okay? Because we have the power to be able to do that if we wanted to. I would do it. I have no problem with that. So if you're coming up to the mic to embarrass, I guess, Christians about the Bible because of violence or something, many Christians like me, we have no problem with violence. And violence in the Bible especially, I have no problem with. Anyway, I have absolutely no problem with anything in the Bible, okay? And if God commands something, I have no problem with it. Okay? Am I going to go out and kill babies for no reason? No. But if God tells me to kill babies, I'll kill babies. I have no problem with it if God commands it. So I have no problem with the Bible saying that God commanded killing of babies. I also have no problem if the Pope commands it, because the Pope is the leader of the church. Okay, according to historical Christianity. So if the Pope commands it, I have no problem with it. I also have no problem with things like slavery, because the Bible commands slavery. Okay? It doesn't command it, but it has a system where you can have slavery. In actuality, if the Christians as a nation were having a war against the Muslims, we could take the Muslims as slaves according to the Bible. All right? All we have to do is give them food, shelter, and we can't beat them too much. We can't beat them to the point that they can die. I have no problem with the Bible. Maybe you need to talk to some of these people who don't really believe the Bible. All right. So, Share, you said that the Christians are telling you they don't believe in the Old Testament. Well, that's the Christians you're talking to on Pal Talk. That's not me. That's not many of the Christians that I know. They have no problem with that. Okay. Oh, see, Thranduil has rebuked me. Well, Thranduil, maybe you don't believe in the Old Testament as a born-again, New Age Protestant. I'm a Catholic. I'm the original Christians. I'm the real Christian. Okay? The real, original Christian, we have no problem with the Bible. We did the Crusades, okay? We did the Crusades. We conquered the Muslim world. All right? We threw the Muslims out of Spain. We have no problem with the Bible. All right? I have no problem with conquering other people if the Christians want to do that and forcing them to be Christians. That's what Jesus says. He says, spread the gospel. Okay? He says, spread the gospel to all nations. He doesn't say spread it nicely. He doesn't say be nice to people. In fact, the Apostle Paul said to the slaves, he says, slaves, obey your masters. Many of these Christians, they don't believe in slavery. Okay? I have no problem with that. Yeah, I mean, that's the Western European corruption, okay, of Christianity with the Protestant religions. You have many, many Protestant religions. Okay, now, if you read the whole New Testament, what does it say? It says, Jesus says, think not that I have come to bring peace on earth. That's what he says. He says, I have come with a sword. He has said, if you don't have a sword, sell your cloak and buy a sword. That's what he told the apostles. Okay? In the book of Revelation, it says that he will actually walk in the blood of the wicked. Okay? That includes the Muslims. That includes all the, the Mormons, all these people who have told lies about Jesus Christ. Now, as far as the Muslimas, you call me satanic, according to the Bible, if we're in a war and I capture anybody in that war, I can take them as slaves. Now, I can't take someone as a slave under the system because we don't have a theocracy. We don't have Christian rule. If we had Christian rule and the Muslims start a war like Al-Qaeda or ISIS, or we decide to go to war and we actually take some of these people and keep them as slaves. And in the New Testament, the Apostle Paul says that slaves are to obey their masters as they would God. Now, many of these Christians, like the guy that was up on the mic, they don't want to follow the Bible. Okay, they want to redesign the Bible, re-engineer it, and turn it into what they want to turn it into. All right? Some of you guys don't like it. That's your problem. You don't have to like what God does. Many atheists don't like that God sends people to hell. The Protestants say, oh, well, we believe we're saved and all that stuff. Yeah, well, Jesus and the apostles did not mention that you would have 50,000 churches and that you could create your own denominations and you can do Jesus never said that. The apostles never said that. Okay? So I am 1964. You have no authority to teach the Bible, to say that you have a church, to claim that you have the truth. Only the church established by Jesus Christ has that authority, which would be the Catholic Church. That's it. Okay? Through Peter, which even the Orthodox Christians, which go against Catholicism, they admit that Peter is first among equals, first in honor, and that he received the keys to the kingdom. Okay? Even the Orthodox admit that. All right? So of course you're going to say that because you don't want to follow the truth, Remington. You want to follow Protestantism, which was created in Europe by a bunch of weak Europeans. If you have a problem with killing babies, elderly people, pregnant women, animals, whatever, why are you following? Why don't you become an atheist or a Buddhist? I mean, you talk about a God that floods the whole planet, including babies, You talk about a God that kills the firstborn of the Egyptians, which would include children. I mean, what are you people talking about? So, you have I am 1964, you coming up here. Oh, that the Bible says that. That's all theology, okay? That's all philosophy. That's what you get from your teachers like Calvin and Martin Luther and the other Protestant teachers. The Bible itself gives you clear-cut events that took place, okay, where people are killed or they have slavery under certain conditions, okay? And you come up to the mic and you act like, that I'm crazy, that I'm making all these things up. It's amazing to me. It's amazing to me. I mean, you must not even be reading the Bible. Now, the Bible in the New Testament says that Scripture is not a matter of private interpretation. That means, you Protestants that are coming up here, it's not a matter of private interpretation. Okay? The Catholic Church, which is the authority, makes a public, universal interpretation of the Bible. Okay? And in its interpretation, if we look at history, Pope Pius II, Pope Urban II, for example, said that it is the will of God to defeat the heathen and to conquer the Holy Land, Jesus Christ. That's the Pope speaking. That's not private interpretation. All right. The Catholic Church says certain forms of slavery are okay, certain forms of conquest, and then ministering the Bible to these different savage people is permitted. That's not me. That's not you. That is the authority, the public interpreter of the Bible, speaking upon what the church. All right. You might not like it. I don't care if you don't like it. That's your personal opinion. That's what you prefer.
Like, share, and subscribe to create awareness. We are also available on Facebook, Google+, and Twitter.